Sports Drive, and your friends here at WOCA.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before. Oh, I got the wrong music on there. I'm so sorry. I was busy talking. I put the wrong music in. John Fuller is here. He is here to answer your legal questions. And, of course, the show is called Legally Yours. And the questions are about your legal circumstances, or maybe somebody you know, maybe somebody's been in an accident and you need a little advice on that. Because the insurance companies are there to help you, but sometimes they try to give you a hard time. So legal help is always an important part of that. Or maybe you need more help than they're saying you need, and you need a little bit of help from an attorney. Or maybe you know somebody who's been arrested. Any of those are all good for calls. The phone number is 622-9622. And just so you know, John is here live on March 18th. So if that's the same date on your calendar, then you're listening to a live show. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning to all of our friends who are listening. Larry's introduction made a comment I want to take issue with a little bit. I don't think that one should necessarily assume that in dealings with an insurance company, whether it is your own insurance carrier after you've had an accident, or most assuredly if it is the insurance carrier for the adverse party who had injured you in some negligent event, they are not presumptively there to help you. I'm not indicting your own insurance company, but they certainly, you're entitled to your no-fault benefits, which they have to administer and pay for your medical bills or lost wages, and you have to make your timely claim on that, like we've talked about many times. But they certainly can be adversary. They can be adversary over the property damage to your vehicle. They can be adversary to the amount of personal injury protection treatment you get as to whether or not your injuries warrant continued medical treatment under your PIP coverage with your own carrier. And then if you have uninsured motorist coverage, which you've purchased from your carrier, your company, that's part of your policy that you pay for, and you make a claim because you've been hurt by someone and they don't have insurance or they don't have adequate insurance to cover your damages, then your claim is against your own insurance company for your uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage, and that is most assuredly an adversary proceeding. So it would behoove everybody, if they're in an accident, to consult with a lawyer, and most certainly if someone has been in an accident, and especially if they're serious personal injury or unfortunately a death involved, you certainly need to talk with someone. We would be glad to talk with you. Our telephone number at Fuller & Fuller is 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565. And you certainly are free to call us. There's no obligation. We don't charge for services in personal injury cases unless we make a recovery for the client, and then it's pursuant to a written contract that spells it all out. There's a percentage of the recovery. But if you don't make a recovery, the client doesn't owe us anything. So it certainly is something, if you have serious damages, especially, I can't overemphasize that. So just wanted to make that point. I'm not trying to demonize your friendly insurance representative, right. But the nice gentleman who you see at your service club or you see at your church who sold you your policy, he's your next door neighbor. He may be the baseball coach for your little league team that your kid plays on. He's a wonderful guy. He means well, but he's not calling the shots after he he sells you the policy. It's the adjusters,
Good point.
the underwriters, and the claims department, and their primary interest is the bottom line for their shareholders.
But you know what the part that gets to me about what you just said is why they would be adversarial when you sit with them and they ask you what you want for your policy. They ask you, do you want uninsured motorist coverage? You ask them what that means. They tell you. They also tell you there's an additional dollar amount you're going to pay for that. So they're selling you a product. But when it's time to cash in on that product, it sounds like what you're saying is that's when then they become the most adversarial.
Absolutely. Then it becomes just like any other lawsuit. What are the amount of the damages? And if you say, I think it's $100,000, and they say it's $10,000, then you've got a lawsuit.
Wow. Yeah, it boggles my mind that they would sell you something and make it seem like such a wonderful thing to own, and then give you a hard time when it's time to cash in.
Well, it is a wonderful thing to own because there are a lot of people driving who don't have adequate insurance or don't have insurance, and people who are safe drivers and are careful, they need to have all the protection they can, and uninsured motorist coverage is relatively inexpensive, so everybody should purchase as much uninsured motorist as they can afford.
All right, John, you have a couple phone calls coming in. Let's take the first one. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Good morning. Just wanted to make a quick comment, and then I had a question. I had somebody, a drunk driver, one time run into a fence on my property in town and tore up the fence and everything. And after I got through with her insurance company, it was going to cost me more to get the estimates and all that stuff than it would for them to repair the fence. I never did get the fence repaired. But anyway, I don't know what was the final thing, but one question that I had, and it's in regards to some legislation. I don't know if you've been following this or not, but I watched this committee yesterday. As a matter of fact, I think I got home and I watched about a couple of hours where this one House rep from Miami-Dade has a proposal where I guess it's something that's not very popular with people that are transgender, and it pretty well says that you go to the bathrooms now in public facilities or wherever, and people have the right. A lot of the people in the public places can, if you look like a man, more so. If you're not a man, you go to a woman's bathroom or vice versa, then you can, they can stop you and ask you to see your driver's license and all this stuff. I mean, it seems like it's just going to create more problems than you can shake a stick at. I just want to know if you had followed that, and if there seems to be something that there's going to be something that's going to add to a lot of lawsuits. I'll hang up and always enjoy listening to you.
Thank you for calling. I'm not familiar with that legislation. I haven't followed it. I know nothing about it. I'm sure you appreciate hundreds of bills are pre-filed in the legislature every session. Many of them never see the light of day. Some of them get referred to various committees and ultimately make it to the House and the Senate floor. I try to follow those bills that are of significant importance or potentially significant importance to the areas of law that I practice in that would affect my clients in the mainstream. It's simply not feasible to review and try to follow the committee workings on all the pre-filed bills, and I know nothing about that.
And you have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
Now, Florida has this 14-day rule to claim a body injury. If you don't in 14 days, you can't do it. If you're a person that is like a snowbird and you live half the time here and half the time in another state, is that just strictly a Florida ruling, or is that nationwide, or can you take your claim to another state where there's not a 14-day rule and reopen it?
No, this is under your contract of insurance in Florida. This is for people who've bought insurance in Florida or have an accident in Florida, and it's not necessarily the time to make the claim. That's the time to seek medical attention and to have medical records that confirm that you are suffering from a significant medical injury in order to maximize your $10,000 personal injury protection coverage. If you don't seek medical attention within the required time frame of the statute, then your personal injury protection coverage that's available reduces from $10,000 to a much smaller amount. So you need to go see a doctor. And again, we've gone over this many times. Chiropractors are excluded from that. It has to be a doctor of osteopathy, a medical doctor, a physician's assistant, a nurse practitioner that you have to go see, certainly a hospital, but you have to go and seek medical attention within that time period and get a report that says that you suffered a significant medical event as a result of the accident or injury or whatever. Anyway, thank you for calling.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And we have to take a little break. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be partly sunny today. There may be a shower in spots along the coast. The high 81 at the coast, 86 inland. Partly cloudy and mild tonight, though 63 to 67. Some sunshine tomorrow and warm with a high of 81 on the coast, 86 inland. For Friday, more sun than clouds and warm, high 81 at the coast, 87 inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
One of the most common questions those nearing retirement are asking, will I outlive my money? Retirement questions like these and many more will be answered every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement with hosts Francois and Julian Pozenet. Francois and Julian will help you put your retirement puzzle together. Catch Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Ocala's News Talk, The Source 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
In a study involving more than 2,000 people, those with slimmer waistlines showed higher cognitive ability than those who were overweight or obese. Our pets improve our character and make us much better people. If your partner's the one who's stressed out, we know that you will be 25% more likely to be affected than a stranger would be. Yeah, be careful because stress is contagious.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. John Fuller is here if you have a question about the law. The date today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2015. So if you're listening on that date, then you're listening to a live show. And some of the questions that sometimes come in have to do with legislation. So you've got to keep up with most of that stuff all the time, huh?
No, I wouldn't say most of it because, like I said, I would spend all my time reading pre-filed bills and no time taking care of my clients' needs. I do carefully follow the pre-filed bills in the area of automobile accident cases, personal injury, family law, business, commercial, those types of things. And of course, it's a constant process of keeping updated because we have 5 district courts of appeal and 1 Supreme Court, and they are issuing written opinions every day. And so you have to keep up with all the opinions that come out.
Do you know the one?
Sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Don. This is one I've always not been sure about when I'm driving. If I'm on on State Road 200 going the opposite direction of a school bus, and the school bus is stopped, do I stop? It seems like nobody stops.
It's on divided highway. I don't think you have to. I haven't checked that statute, but that's my recollection. I hate to just cite statutes off the top of my head because I haven't dealt with it. But generally, my recollection is that if it is a divided highway, you don't have to stop for a school bus in the other lane on the other side of the median.
If it's divided by a median, or
I honestly haven't looked that closely at the statute in a long time.
And the other one I've always wondered about, or I've never been sure about, is the one where you have to move over if there's a police officer or with his lights on.
Well, if there's a police officer on the side of the road, the law says where practical and feasible, you need to safely move into the outside lane and pass. If you are unable to do that, you have to slow down to, I think it says 25 miles an hour as you pass. If you're on I-75 and there's a line of traffic in the passing lane and you see a police officer or a law enforcement officer stopped on the side of the road, you can't immediately pull over in the other lane safely. Then the law provides that you have to slow down dramatically as you go past him.
All right, and you have another phone call. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Oh, hey, good morning. Yeah, I think that's true about the divided highway, sir. I had a boss get a ticket. Forgot to note the divided highway. I had a quick question, Mr. Attorney. I was getting a property transfer in another state, and the lawyer said, hey, while we're at it, why don't we knock you out a will? So he made me up a will, very generic, doesn't have any details in it, but can I transfer that down here to Florida relatively easily?
Sure. A will that's valid in the state in which it is written, you come to Florida, it should be the same. It should be effective. I recommend to people that when they do change states that they take their will that was prepared in another state and consult with a will and estate lawyer to update their estate plan if necessary, but to make certain that the will meets the signature requirements, the execution requirements of a valid Florida will. That's something that you might want to have someone take a look at it. But just because a will is done in another state, if it meets the requirements of the attestation, that means it's been properly signed in the presence of two subscribing witnesses who are in the presence of each other, who swear, and I always used to do when I did them, put in a self-proving will, that they all then swore, the person who signed the will and all the witnesses before a notary public who also signed it, acknowledging that they had signed the documents in the presence of each other at the request of the person who made the will, the testator, and that way, when the person passed away and the will needed to be probated, it would be what we call a self-proving will, and you don't have to go and run down those two witnesses. And so if you don't have a self-proving will and the will was witnessed in some other state, in order to admit it to probate in Florida, those people have to swear under oath in an affidavit that it's their signature and that they were there in the presence of each other and in the presence of the person who made the will, and he did so freely and voluntarily. He was oriented mentally, and knowledgeable of his assets and the objects of his bounty. And I don't do wills or estate work anymore, but I would certainly go check with a lawyer who does and just have him take a look at the will.
I will. This is 10 years old, so those people might not even be around anymore.
Right. And if that's the case, then you need to just do another one and have it self-proving, and then you're good to go.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Do you know, one of the things I've always wondered about, and there was nobody contested it, but when my mom passed, we had her will, and there were some handwritten notes that she put in there, and we, of course, abided by them. She kind of, I guess, thought of things later on. Didn't go to an attorney to have them added, and nobody contested it, so there was no big issue. But Or is that actually?
It can be, especially if it deals with personal property.
Yeah, that's what it was.
If you can supplement the will. But again, it's better to do it right and avoid the risk of some debate or dispute, so that's advisable to do that. But you cannot do that with real property or something that's not personal. If you want to supplement with a separate written document that I want my son Joe to have my wristwatch and my gun and my fishing tackle, you can do that.
Right. The phone number is 622-WOCA if you'd like to speak to John. We got about 4.5 minutes left in the show, so it's enough time to squeeze in a question or two. Do we have the right to take issue with a doctor who, I don't know if malpractice is the word, but maybe misdiagnosed something that caused us to get worse?
The medical malpractice statute in Florida is very complex, and it has some very rigid statute of limitations on it. If a person feels that they have been injured as a result of some medical negligence, and this is a very complex area, and I'm going to just not do it justice with a little blurb here, but they have to be able to prove that the action or inaction or improper action that failed to meet the standard of care, that it breached the requisite standard of care for a professional trained in the area of the medical provider's area. And then you have to prove also a second level of proof that the failure to do something or do something that you shouldn't have done that breaches the standard of care was the causation of the injury, and then you have to prove that as a result of the causation of the injury, you suffered damages. And in order to even bring the case, you have to give written notice to the physician in advance, and it has to be accompanied by a sworn affidavit by a similarly trained medical professional who has the same specialization and qualifications, who has to certify under oath that he has reviewed all the records, and in his opinion, the other physician did a procedure or didn't do a procedure, and that act or inaction or improper action failed to meet the standard of care, and that the failure to meet the standard of care was the causation of the patient's injury.
Wow.
Now, there is a statute that says that some things are presumptive. If you have surgery and a foreign body is sewed up in your body, they forget to take out a sponge, or they leave a hemostat in, or whatever, and they don't that's there. Then that's negligence. That's presumption that breaches the standard of care.
Yeah, that should be an easy one to figure out, right?
Right.
John, how do we get a hold of you?
Okay, we practice at the law firm of Fuller & Fuller. We do personal injury and wrongful death for serious accidents. We do business and commercial litigation. We do Social Security disability, and we do complex family law matters on a limited specialized basis. Our phone number at the office is 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565.
All right, and if you're listening and you couldn't write that down because you're driving, call us. We'll be glad to repeat the information so you can get a hold of John and his wife Janet. Also, don't forget that we do record all of these interviews with John, and they're all on the internet. If you go to WOCA's Facebook page or YouTube channel, you'll be able to see John Fuller's programs from today and any time in the past. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be partly sunny today. There may be a shower spots along the coast, the high 81 at the coast, 86 inland. Partly cloudy and mild tonight, though 63 to 67. Some sunshine tomorrow and warm with a high of 81 on the coast, 86 inland. For Friday, more sun than clouds and warm, high 81 at the coast, 87 inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
This is James Snyder inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy, right here on WOCA 1370.